What up, my fellow Knicks fans? This is your guy Marcellus Ease, and don't panic quite yet. Now in this segment right here, we're going to get a great preview of the Pistons and Knicks first round series, and it's a perfect combination of a storm that's coming together, an old school East Coast battle. It's going to be very physical, a lot of shit talking, you know, the things that we all love about the Eastern Conference. But we'll get into a deep dive of how the Knicks offense could exploit Jalen Brunson and some of these spacing issues he has guarding stretch centers like Karl Towns. And in this series, it's going to be great to see how the Knicks deal with Cade Cunningham. The NBA today has a lot of great ball handlers that are over 6'6". We're used to mainly seeing LeBron play that point forward role, but now we have the Luka Doncic's, the Jason Tatums, the Paolo Bancheros, and at times I will put Zion Williams into this category when he's focused and not messing with the thotties. But again, dealing with these bigger players that can handle the ball and make great decisions with passing, it's going to be good to see how Tibbs maneuvers around this chessboard in a 7-game series. But at the end of the day, the defensive effort is really going to start with the team's leaders in Jalen Brunson and Karl Towns. But hey, I'm not going to say no more. Let's just get to it.
You can walk anywhere in this world and niggas will be like, where you from, New York?
Yeah.
Anywhere. They not saying, where you from, Cali? Where you from, New Mexico? Are you from Detroit? No, nigga.
So,
where you from, nigga, New York?
Let me show you how arrogant New Yorkers is. We don't even think we got an accent. They're like, you got an accent. I'm like, no, motherfucker.
You got an accent.
Alcohol, right.
Now in this series, with the Knicks dealing with Cade Cunningham on the defensive end, a lot of the main components that's going to make a difference is the effort Jalen Brunson and Karl Towns makes on these pick and rolls. Now Cade rejects the screen right here, but Brunson, this is going to be the difference maker. Him getting to his spots to close out any attacking lanes from Cade. Same thing for Karl Towns. He's going to have to put more of an effort on getting back and recovering. As Brunson right here, he gets there too late to hedge that, and Karl Towns doesn't even contest. Kat and Brunson, they're going to have to own it, this part of the defense. See Brunson right here, this is perfect. Like, take on the responsibility and making sure you get there on the hedge, not allowing him to turn. This is what we're going to have to be just paying more close attention. And with Kat, dealing with this 3-man action, paying attention on who's rolling, who's popping out, who's not covered. Kat is going to have to be more attentive in this series. This is good defense right here. You could live with this. The Pistons at times don't necessarily have the shooters when Tobias Harris is on the floor. Same thing for Sir Thompson. These guys don't necessarily knock down shots at a high clip, because if at that, Cade could really have MVP numbers when it comes to those assists. Here's another prime example of owning the situation with Jalen Brunson. It's crunch time. They need to stop. About 2 minutes left. Knicks down by 2. Look at this half-ass hedge by Jalen Brunson. But again, the Pistons, they don't necessarily have the shooters. When it comes to Brunson, he doesn't necessarily have to be perfect. Just a slight more effort on the defensive end, especially when it comes to these small details, because going into the playoffs, I would say the end of the season, it's not necessarily that offense looked bad and just us not having momentum. It's that also there were a lot of slip-ups defensively by the Knicks, carrying that same momentum into the playoffs, especially by Jalen Brunson and Karl Towns. Here's a prime example. The game is tied. Time winding down. Look at Brunson's effort right here. Don't let him turn. This is where Brunson has to win these battles. I'm not saying right here he's imperfect, but these are the battles he has to win against Cade, because Cade, once he gets that turn, Brunson is going to be hard for him to recover. Cade is strong enough to keep Brunson, as well as Bridges and even Josh Hart, off his back. He is very strong, and he uses his momentum the same way Brunson does, with all these stop and goes. And then also he could take a step back and use his height to either make another pass or just take the jumper. Around here is his bag, and he can post up. So right here, you see Brunson, he let him turn. And keep in mind, look at Brunson's original man. And now looking at how Karl Towns deals with the pick and roll to end the season with the 6'8" Jalen Brown. And Jalen Brown, to a degree, he's not as good of a passer, but look at Anthony Towns in his pick and roll. Just imagine Cade, who's a lot more efficient in the passing out of this pick and roll. Look at Towns right here. And just poor communication between him and Josh Hart. Check out the body language. Again, I don't know if it was just the end of the season, just the angst of just knowing that it's almost that time to just get into the playoffs and get down to business. It's almost like the last 2 to 3 hours at a job before you get to go home. Guys are just trying to get the fuck up out of there. But Kat just has a mental lapse right here. I don't know what was going on. Like, where is he going? KP at this point, he's on fire. And the Celtics, they love to throw screens on the center to allow their other perimeter players to get open threes. And KP gets off a good look there. But that really started with Kat just sort of being lost. Kind of overzealous, trying to anticipate the player going over on that screen. I don't know what it is about this game, but he was lost numerous times. And when it comes to Jalen Brunson to end the season, he had much more momentum and just putting out more of the defensive effort in the pick and roll, just recovering or just getting into the passing lanes than Karl Anthony Towns did. And it showed in their, I would say, last 2 matchups, but not necessarily against Brooklyn, because I believe he was out, but in the matchup going up against the Cavs. And this will translate going up against the Pistons and Cade Cunningham, especially with that pick and roll with 2 guards. Let's say Beasley was involved in this. So Brunson's going to hedge right here. Right here, this is Dean Wade. This could be Beasley on the Pistons. Would he finish second in the league this season with 3-pointers made? But check out Brunson's effort. This is what we're going to have to look out for Brunson. He's going to have to follow the shooter. Dean Wade gives up the ball, but look, he wants it back for this corner 3. But check out Brunson. This effort right here is what he's going to have to win. He's going to have to win these battles. And the Cavs get bailed out with a foul right there. But we could live with that as long as the effort is there. Again, same game to end the season. And off this pick, Brunson gets a nice little deflection. And let's take a look at it one more time, because in the case of Cade Cunningham, he's way taller. So he can get this over the top. So Brunson's job is going to be to hedge this real hard and pressure the ball and then try to make his recovery. He wouldn't necessarily have to do that on a consistent basis, but at times he's going to have to pick his spots carefully, because he is going to carry the offensive load on the other side of the ball. So this is where the bench unit is really going to help the Knicks, because in this series, they're going to need the bench units to actually come through. Guys like Precious, you got Cameron Payne. Other guys are going to have to contribute. Shamet, he's been on fire to end the season. These guys are really going to have to come in, because I believe in the second matchup against the Pistons during the season, the Pistons bench just completely killed the Knicks in a couple of those matchups. And again, keep in mind, I believe not Beasley, but Tim Hardaway Jr. They got some serviceable players that can come in and make some noise. They got Dennis Schroeder, the speed of Ashur Thompson, and, Isaiah Stewart. I believe Beasley does come off the bench. Malik Beasley definitely does come off the bench for him. I believe Tim Hardaway Jr. might be the starter right there. And the 5th overall pick, Ron Holland. So they have some guys that are serviceable. Only Beasley out of all those players is really the shooter. But they do have a lot of athleticism as well as speed on the wings. But going back to Brunson, here's another example of just some of that effort. He hedges, and he doesn't fully get there. But that right there is exactly what we're looking for when it comes to the effort on his side. Now we're going to look at the importance of Mikal Bridges as well as Deuce McBride in this series in containing Cade Cunningham. And also we're going to look at Cade's player profile, what he likes to do, and how he tends to set his game up. He also won't hesitate to get mismatches and to take smaller guards down in the post and just straight up hit him with a hook shot. Again, looking at him right here, as we take a look at his player profile, he rejects the screen on OG. And look at right here, hits him with a stutter step, just like Brunson, just to get into the paint. He loves to use that stop and go. He switches speeds, and he's big enough to finish over OG and Ariel. And nothing about Cade You're just seeing the maturation of a young player who dribbles Mikal right into this screen. And once he gets guys on his back, it's hard for them to recover and get right back in front. We know the Knicks love to play that drop back and original defender recovers type of defense. But right here, they also like to use the big bodies of Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren in the paint as screeners. And Cade, this is his bag right here, just like Jalen Brunson. He could finish right here. He loves to finish, and he also always has another eye on the shooters. And just looking at the skill sets that he does have with the passing ability to be able to make passes like this, sort of these like LeBron James / Luka-esque type passes, just skipping the ball over to the open corner shooter. With the Pistons at times, they don't have enough shooters. Sir Thompson, Tobias Harris, Ron Holland, these guys really can't shoot from three. And Cade is a player who his assist numbers will be way higher, but this is the Pistons conundrum right here, is that when he gets passes out like this, these guys tend to not make these open shots. Now, after getting a better understanding of his archetype, we're going to understand the importance of the role of Mikal Bridges and Deuce McBride in this series in containing Cade Cunningham. As Mikal right here gets involved in a switch and a mismatch, and because Cade can post up and score right here in the paint around the elbows, it forces Knicks players to begin to collapse. And this is where he begins to kick out to the open shooters. Remember, at 6'6", he's big enough to see who's open out on the wings. And it opens up the Pistons offense for easier shots. You see in this upcoming series, there's going to be a lot of guard-on-guard screens between Cade and Beasley or Cade and Tim Hardaway Jr. So guys are going to have to be fighting through screens, get on point with the switches, knowing when and when not to switch, and just, kind of being more on point with the communication. And guys like Deuce McBride and Bridges, they're going to have to fight Cade at times because he does have the size advantage over them. Here's a perfect example of it right here on the lower corner. Check out Deuce and Cade. Cade trying to post him up real quick. Deuce gets in front of that and leads to the easy turnover. Here's Cade again, battling it out with Deuce, using that size to his advantage, posting up, just easily getting to the bucket. And you know what? I'm going to include Josh Hart on these guard-to-guard screens, because his effort on this recovery, just anticipating this pass to Pritchard right here, this is going to play out the same way going up against the Pistons. Looking back at it right here, this could be a Cade and a Beasley screen or a Cade and a Hardaway screen. And throughout the season, the communication and sometimes the switching and the effort on the recovery, just getting back to that extra shooter, especially against the top teams in the league, this has been very inconsistent. And speaking of the inconsistencies, I'm wondering how many different looks the Knicks are going to give this young Detroit Pistons team when they throw multiple actions at them. Are they going to have guys switch? Because right now, this is what, a guard-on-guard screen with Tim Hardaway Jr., followed by a screen on Duren. And again, with the Pistons, this is an extremely young team, but Cade has shown that he can make his proper adjustments. As right here, Duren quickly, he rolls right here, compromising Kat from hard hedging right here because of that roll. And if Brunson picks up on Duren, Hardaway Jr. opens up, as we're going to see it play out here. See, if Brunson doesn't stick, Cade could hit Hardaway Jr. right here. But now Cade is going to end up using his size. And again, that 6'6" frame makes it easy for him to get off his little mid-range jumpers in the paint. Here's another play right here involving multiple actions. Now, Josh Hart, I'm wondering if he hard hedged right here and forced Cade to make this wide turn. Could everyone actually recover to the original man? Just looking at it again, what if the team just gave out a different look, a switch right here? Because Duren is not really a threat from out here. And even if he rolls, you can get OG to help out and everyone could collapse. It's not like he has the ball handling skills to be all the way this far out. Cade, just with that size and height. Now let's look at the counter to what the Pistons just did, except this is going to be on the inverse. Good switchable teams like the Oklahoma City Thunder, watch them nullify this right here, this double stagger screen. See, Hartenstein jumps in front, and that's where Kat just was. And now everyone's kind of covered. Watch how it plays out. Hartenstein's going to recover. Let's just say this was Kat on the other end. This was Duren. Duren is not a shooter. Again, as I stated before, from way out here, 30 feet out, he can't necessarily dribble and find his way to the hoop. He's not that kind of player. But looking at it again, you can see this is a prime example of how, good switchable teams that have good chemistry can nullify some of these situations. Here it is again with the Thunder just nullifying these double screens, these stagger screens. Look at everyone, they're nowhere to be at. Just one more time. This is the first switch right here with Deuce. And this is the second switch right here, in case Brunson dumps it off the top. And look at that wide turn Hartenstein forced Brunson to make. And this is how Kat is going to have to at times, he's going to have to do his best. It doesn't have to be for the whole game. But I would say in the playoffs, he's going to have to put, 20% more effort into kind of forcing guys to make wide turns like this. You sort of delay this offense. They're going to delay Cunningham getting to his spots. It's almost as if the offense has been forced to reset. And make no mistake about it, the other high-level teams like the Celtics and the Cavs, they're on point with this. Now going to the offensive side of the ball, the Knicks should have a lot easier time dealing with the Pistons, especially with Jalen Brunson being a slow-footed center. So once Kat pulls him back in any type of pick and roll, JB could either pull up from 3, with just Brunson being so far back, or if he steps up, if Kat happens to have the ball 30 feet out, he could easily blow by him. But again, this series is a nice combination of a couple of different storms, because you see with the Detroit Pistons, they got a little pep to their steps. They got the vibes of Motown, and they got that chip on their shoulder. That sort of we got nothing to lose aura. And that's kind of scary going up against young teams like that from time to time. And they're really going to have to bully the Knicks defensively to get them off their offensive game. They got some speedy guys on the wings that could also be physical. Sir Thompson and also Holland. But when you look at it with Isaiah Stewart, it kind of adds to that package of just them trying to bully the Knicks offensively. But when you look at the physical makeup of this team, they have a lot of players that can bring that physicality. Sir Thompson, Isaiah Stewart, Ron Holland, and also Tobias Harris. So playing defensive bully is an option for this team. Here's a prime example of it right here. The opportunities that open up with Duren being so far out. Kat can not only take him straight downhill and beat him to the cup with speed, he also could pull up from 3. So Duren is not necessarily, he's sort of like an old school, big kind of power forward. He's not that fast and treading back and also kind of noticing what's happening right away with different guys making their cuts. But look at the open space that it creates in the paint. And it's going to put a lot of rim pressure on this young Detroit Pistons team. As right here, they're going to have to process things quick. You see Precious finding open space. Here's another Towns and Brunson pick and roll. Duren way out here, not as comfortable. And we're going to see the Pistons begin to kind of help out. Kind of close these gaps a little bit. You see right here, here comes a double. Because Kat is fast enough to beat Duren on this gap right here. And with that help, the Pistons defense begins to get compromised with all the Knicks cutters. You got Josh Hart, Bridges, Precious, all these guys just crashing into the lane. And that comes with dealing with the Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson pick and roll from way out here. You got to love when Karl Anthony Towns has a matchup like this, because for years, the Knicks never really had a center who had this much skill set that's such a threat from three. Well, I believe he shot over 40% for the whole season. That other opposing centers, they're going to have to play him close, but yet he has nice enough ball handling skills to take you downhill. And he does it at a very decent pace. Completely takes him off his feet from that triple threat position. Kat, throughout this whole season, he compromised a lot of centers. Porzingis, what's the center out in Chicago? Vucevic. Yeah, what's his name in Milwaukee? Brook Lopez. Yeah, he's compromised quite a few centers within the conference. Matter of fact, don't get him involved in the high screen with JB. Ooh. Look at the spacing that opens up. Deuce with a good look right here. Doesn't knock it down, but guys are going to get good looks. They're going to get a lot of good looks. That's why I say I'm not too worried about the offense. Even if they get bullied a little bit, which I don't think is going to happen too much, because there's something about the playoffs that never really kind of resonate with young players until they actually go through the whole experience and they learn from it. Then they make the adjustments. And you can see it play out in real time. As right here, Asar and Duran is dealing with the Knicks just having a bunch of cutters, along with early in this possession, a mismatch with Kat matched up with Tobias Harris. So Kat could pull up and he could go downhill. So they got to worry about both things. And the Knicks this season with their cutters, that's another thing that's killing these teams. I mean, just imagine Josh Hart was on the floor right now. That's another backdoor. But Duran and Thompson, they're trying to make the adjustments quick. And it's just not quick enough. And last but not least, we're going to combine all the previous concepts and we're going to correlate it to the Knicks' fourth quarter issues. Especially headed into the postseason, we have some bad losses where we gave up leads or the offense stalled, particularly against the Boston Celtics and the Cleveland Cavaliers. But we'll be taking also a look at a few of the matchups that we had with the Pistons that went down to the wire. This right here is the most recent matchup going up against the Detroit Pistons. It's a tie game, 5 minutes left. We got a guard-on-guard screen between Tim Hardaway Jr. and Cade. We got Deuce and Brunson involved. And this is some of the concepts we spoke about earlier, as Brunson right here, his effort and energy on the get back to Tim Hardaway Jr. is really what's going to make the difference. Is right here, he's just a tad bit too late. And the Pistons are able to get a layup out of that. Now jump into the Knicks matchup against the Celtics where we need a stop. About 3 minutes left to go. Knicks down 5. And pay attention to the action right here between KP and Pritchard with Towns and Brunson. And look at Josh Hart. He's going to help out. Now, even though it was a great strip, look what happens if KP catches it. Because he was already making his turn to look this way because he understands Brunson is in a 2v1 situation. It leaves us to wonder what would be the rotations had KP was able to make this turn. Will Mikal then jump to Tatum? Would OG then jump to Pritchard? Brunson jump to Drew Holiday? How tight are the Knicks rotations on defense when the action kind of goes through a scramble? All right, so the Knicks are down 1. They need to stop right here, and let's see what happens when they concede on these switches. Mikal now is on KP, and nothing becomes of that little pick and roll that him and Derek White just ran. See, you could live with these. Let KP make the play down low and sort of let the Celtics kind of live with that one-on-one ISO action and let them make the shot. Because right here, they're going to run another screen. Because this is exactly what they want right here. They want that double so they could exploit that and get one of the shooters an open shot. It's a clean look, but we escaped it. But sometimes them conceding to some of these switches, it leaves the onus on the Celtics to make the play. Celtics last year in the finals ran the same game on Luka Doncic. No doubles. They switched on basically everything. And they didn't allow their defense to get breakdown in any 2v1 situations for Luka to just pick them apart. So sticking to the Celtics game, the Knicks are down 1. About 1:30 left. They get a switch right here with Derek White. And now they look to exploit that 1v1 with KP. We've been kind of spoiled this season. These are not going to fall all the time. Back to the Knicks' most recent game against the Pistons. They get a switch right here. They're down 6, about a minute left in the game. Down 6. They get the 5th overall pick right here, the young rookie, Holland. And I'm surprised they don't call for another screen from Kat to get the rookie in this mix right here. But also, with Bridges, we could use some more aggressiveness. Why not box out the smaller Dennis Schroeder while he's backpedaling right here? Sort of almost like Jimmy Butler. And just perhaps leave Brunson with an option to throw it over the top or even pull the defender even more in. Just Mikal being that aggressive changes the whole dynamic right here. Just look at all that space Mikal has. Wow. Should have definitely boxed out Schroeder right there. This offense could be operating with so much more imagination. And that last Piston game kind of left us yearning for a little bit more because the Knicks don't necessarily have another aggressive perimeter player out on the wing that's just looking to score. Like aggressively, just as Brunson is looking to get his bucket. Because in this game right here, especially in the last, I would say 3 minutes, Mikal he dribbled into no man's land. He had quite a few turnovers because he gave up his dribble too quick, just making tough passes. Here's a prime example of it here. Under 2 minutes left, we're down 7. Mikal, he's gonna dribble right into no man's land, right into a double. I mean, why not take a step back? You got space. It's not like he's hugged up on the sidelines with nowhere to go. But him giving up his dribble right here almost leads to the crazy turnover. And for Mikal, is he going to be ready? Because his time to shine is going to happen during the playoffs at some point. Knicks right here, they're up 1, 55 seconds left to go. Mikal's trying to get this switch on White, but it doesn't necessarily happen. And then White ends up blitzing. So right here, Brunson with a nice pass. So now it's 4-3. And this is the big moments, man. Like, hopefully Mikal's ready for it and not ducking the smoke. There's no avoiding it. There's going to be a moment in the playoffs where he's going to have to come up big in this exact spot. And his decision making is going to be very pivotal. We know he does not like to dribble in tight spaces. Here we go again in the most recent matchup against the Cavs, down 3. Mikal's going to get a pick right here. He's going to throw a pick on Dean Wade, try to get this switch. And for a split second, he's wide open. And this is a smaller Darius Garland. Why not take this shot? This is the game time shot right here. But Mikal is going to take a dribble in. And the Knicks are going to settle for a more difficult shot. That was the game time shot right there, Mikal. Things are going to get interesting because the Knicks don't necessarily have another perimeter player that's looking for a shot. This is the game time shot right there. Mikal with that high release has plenty of height over Garland. This should get tricky because this is the momentum he has going into the playoffs. Crunch time games against the Pistons, the Celtics, and the Cavs. And I'll leave it up to you fellas to be the judge of that. Now with the Knicks up 1, 20 seconds left to go, Tibbs started opening up some of the imagination on the offensive playbook. As Anthony Towns does a ghost screen right here. So he kind of leaves Drew Holiday with a 2v1 situation, being that 40% shooter. And look at Josh Hart. Look at that cut. This is a beautiful play right here. Shit kind of gets sexy when not too much ISO is involved. As we jump back to the most recent matchup with the Cavs and the Knicks, it's all about momentum heading into these playoffs. A lot of concepts I touched base early in this segment with Jalen Brunson's effort being consistent on these pick and rolls. The hedging, the ball pressure, and the recovery. It has to be consistent. And right here with 2 minutes left in the game, Knicks down 1. He hedges nicely, but there's no ball pressure. It's an easy bounce pass right here by Garland. And this inconsistency was very apparent in the Knicks' third matchup against the Detroit Pistons, where Cade really was going in. He was breaking the Knicks down play by play to close out that fourth quarter. This guy was on some training day surgical shit, just blowing past guys. Brunson in the pick and roll, down 2, needing a stop. Just half-ass effort on the hedge. And Cade was just doing his thing, finding guys wide open. And that miss right there goes to an earlier point that I had made, in which Cade would have way more assists, but he doesn't really necessarily have the shooters if Hardaway Jr. and Beasley are not on their A game. But again, sticking to the third matchup between the two, Brunson hedges right here. And where he landed right here, was in front of Dolan? I don't know who the hell this guy is, but man, where he landed right here, there's no point of a return to Hardaway Jr. So Mikal, he would have to switch right here. He would have to concede to that switch and just go on Hardaway Jr. But because they didn't switch, everybody rotates. Beasley hits the shot. Knicks better not let him do that ugly ass dance at MSG. I tell you that. Fast forward back to our most recent matchup against the Cavs. See, again, these scenarios are going to play out. JB with the strong hedge, but there's no recovery at this point. And I don't get it with Mikal. So Brunson is just supposed to get back to his man by just walking across you? Like, you just needing a stop. Not much time left in the game. They got a good look off right there. On some of these hedges, there's just no point of return. Like, this is a switch right here. Like, Brunson really has to go across him to get back. This just doesn't make any sense. Garland is out of this play. I kind of harping on these switches because all season long, it's really been an issue. We've seen Draymond Green get an easy layup in Golden State to win the game. The same scenario almost played out at MSG when Lonzo Ball had all day and was trying to style on the Knicks at the Garden. He was trying to show off, but he missed the shot. But he had all day. My man could have hopped on an Uptown 6 train during rush hour and then came back to still take the shot before someone contested it. And it's all because of the switching. Just jump into one of the last games against the Cavs. Knicks down 2 with about a minute left. And right here, they don't concede the switch, which I'm surprised because they've been doing it all game long, all season long. But Strus, he's been hot. So now Mikal, he actually switches on Strus and it leaves Garland to blow by Brunson. Again, just having the synergy of knowing when to switch, when not to switch. But it's a tough call right here because Strus, he was hot. He was hot in this game from 3. He was doing his thing. So, but hey, Cameron Payne said it the best: early, loud, and continuous. And that's what some of these perimeter defenders are going to have to be for the Knicks. If it's a combination of Josh Hart and Mikal defending any kind of pick and roll involving Cade, same thing for JB and Mikal, or JB and Deuce. This team right now, the Pistons, I'm not going to lie, they got a little swagger. They got a little pep to their step. I can't be mad at it because East Coast basketball, that's what we're all about. That's the kind of shit that we love. The shit talking, the physicality. It's great to see this actually come back into the league. And New York State's own Isaiah Stewart looks like he's ushering that kind of bad boy era back. But the Knicks definitely going to have the advantage on this matchup. They have better experience, the better offensive players. But we'll see, man. Detroit, they're young. They ain't got nothing to lose. And this could be a rah-rah series. But we'll see how it plays out. Until next time, you fellas, stay safe. Peace.